simply to keep this meeting going. I just want to do some quick updates for the Albany SBU to bring everybody up to where we are with our team. We've just made 2 new selections for HR specialists to assist on the recruitment and placement side as local liaisons. The transition date will be in August, so I will send out an email announcement with those selection names once everybody's been contacted and has a confirmed start date. So we will see some new staff coming on board soon. I'm also working on putting together an updated POC listing for all of the service managers on station that will give you your points of contacts, email addresses, phone numbers, or HR help desk links for the different teams. So you have each of those point of contacts, you know who to contact, when and where. 2 of those contacts that we have for you will be actually doing our presentation today. We have Shannon Taylor from the Compensation Center of Excellence, and we have David Burr and Michael Halbrant from Work-Life Benefits. They're both going to be going over a little bit about their programs and who you can contact if you need any information from those units. This session, thank you, Sean, is being recorded and will be available for future reference and education if needed. So with that, Shannon, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, and you can share your screen when you are ready.
We'll return to take your call in just 1 moment.
Somebody put us on hold. Let me see if I can find out who that is in mute.
Okay, in the meantime, can we see the presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Think we're ready to go, or?
Yep, feel free.
Shannon, it's a little hard to hear you. I don't know if you can speak up or turn the volume up somehow.
Okay, is this better?
It's a little better, thanks.
Okay, unfortunately, I can't like adjust my mic volume, I don't think, so I'll just try to talk very loudly. Okay, so as Christina introduced me, I'm Shannon Taylor. Many of you may have remembered me as Shannon Fitzmaurice when I was at the Albany VA a few years ago. I now work in the Compensation Center of Excellence, and I'm going to go over some of the things that we do in the CCOE and how we can better help you guys at the facility level. Okay, our team is comprised of 1 supervisor, 1 team lead, 7 specialists, and 2 assistants. We are in the works of assigning specialists to each station. That would be your main point of contact for any compensation need. At this time, Andrea Keene has been assigned to assist with the biennial market pay review process. Right now, the best way to contact anybody at the CCOE would be to use our mail group, which is the VISN 2 compensation team at va.gov. We strive to answer all the inquiries that are sent to this inbox as soon as possible. This is a quick rundown of some of the more prominent items we deal with here at the CCOE. As with any HR function, we often take on many other items, such as action items, employee inquiries, help desk questions. These are some of the items we'll dig deeper into today. The 3 R incentives, which are recruitment, relocation, and retention, appointment above the minimums, highest previous rate, special salary rates, locality pay systems, market pay reviews, pay for performance, education debt reduction program, and the student loan repayment program. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go over is the 3 R incentives. So incentives are important features that the VA medical centers can use to leverage when recruiting and retaining hard to fill positions. Recruitment incentives may be authorized for full-time, part-time, or intermittent employees in their first appointment as a federal employee, or to a newly appointed former federal employee, as long as they have at least a 90-day break in service. Relocation incentives may be authorized for full-time federal employees who must change work site and physically relocate to a different geographic area more than 50 more miles from the work site of their position. These employees must have a rating of record of at least fully successful. Prior to authorizing a recruitment or relocation incentive, the organization must fully justify the need for the incentive, which is using VA Form 10016, which is the justification for a recruitment or relocation incentive. It's important to seek approval to use incentives before positions are approved to recruit and to use these added benefits throughout the entire recruitment process. This ensures a larger and higher quality talent pool and the likelihood of decreasing the time to hire. VA Form 10016 has two parts. Section A is completed prior to any recruitment efforts and must be approved by the appropriate official, normally the medical center director, before any incentives are advertised in the vacancy announcement. This section is specific to the position as a whole, not any one individual. The second section on VA Form 10016 is completed once a candidate is selected. So once a vacancy is announced and the supervisor and manager has made a selection, Section B would be completed and sent for approval. This is specific to the applicant and their experience, skills, abilities, etc. VA Form 10016 must be fully approved prior to an employee's EOD. Approvals cannot be made retroactive, meaning that this process must be completed before the candidate comes on board. Recruitment relocation incentives up to 15% must be approved by the medical center director. Now switching gears to retention incentives, they're used to retain full-time or part-time employees with high or unique qualifications in hard-to-fill positions or whose services are essential to a special VA need and are likely to leave federal service without the incentive. Retention incentives must be reviewed and recertified on at least an annual basis to determine the need for continued use. Like recruitment and relocation incentives, retention incentives cannot be retroactive and will be effective the pay period after they are approved. If you feel that a recruitment relocation incentive is needed, talk to the recruiter that you're working with on the vacancy announcement. They'll initiate a request in our CCOE Leaf portal. Once this process is initiated, a CCOE specialist will reach out directly to that manager and supervisor and help them complete the necessary forms. Similarly, if a retention incentive is needed, you would contact the Albany SBU and they would initiate a request. And then once again, a CCOE specialist will reach out to that supervisor and manager and work directly with them to get the forms completed. The next section is about appointment above the minimums, or AAMs, and highest previous rate, or HPRs. So an AAM supervisors may request for new GS or WG employees to be appointed above the step 1 of their grade. The request for an appointment above the minimum is based on one of the following: the candidate's existing pay, which is only used for hybrid Title 38 employees, and a pay stub is required. The higher or unique qualifications of the candidate, special need of VA. So in order for an appointment above the minimum to be approved, one of those three things need to be met. And existing pay is only for hybrid Title 38 employees. So a Title 5 employee cannot get an appointment above the minimum based solely on what they're currently making outside of VA. Appointment above the minimums are also not traditionally used for on-duty employees. The only way that an appointment above the minimum can be used for a non-duty employee is if they're a temporary appointment moving to a permanent appointment or a new hybrid occupational series. Additional things that you want to consider when you're looking to use an appointment above the minimum would be pay rates of the existing employees. What do the other employees in that occupation make at VA? The availability of well-qualified candidates. Is it hard to find candidates that would be qualified for this position? Potential employee community relation problems. If you give this employee a higher step than those on board, will it create tension in the department? And then you also want to consider any alternatives to appointment above the minimums, such as a recruitment incentive, redesigning the job, internal training, etc. Highest previous rate is for former federal employees may be rehired at a rate that is equivalent to the salary they previously earned. A lower step may be recommended but must be documented. If applicable, this rule may also be applied to transfers, promotions, and demotions. The previous position must have been at least 1 year in duration. A shorter period may be acceptable under certain circumstances, but it must be documented. On the highest previous rate memo, the supervisor and manager must put some sort of information as to why they believe that this person should still get the highest previous rate, even if they haven't served in their old position for at least a year. The experience in the position must have enhanced the employee's total qualifications. It's also important that the positions are relatable. So for instance, if you have someone that's applying to a nursing assistant position and their prior position's a housekeeping aide, they don't necessarily correlate. So it's hard to say that their position as a housekeeping aide enhanced their qualifications to be a nursing assistant. So they don't, just because they have a highest previous rate in another occupation doesn't always mean it'll be approved. The employee may not have been removed from the position due to inefficiency or adverse action, and the employee must provide an SF-50 as evidence of the previous rate. Both highest previous rates and appointments above the minimum must be approved prior to the appointment and cannot be retroactive. It's very important that these are done before the employee starts. Unfortunately, if the employee starts and then they come to you and say, oh, well, I was a prior federal employee, these actions are not retroactive, so we can't do anything about their prior service as far as appointments above the minimum or highest previous rates. So if you feel that an appointment above the minimum or highest previous rate is necessary for the prospective employee, let your recruiter know. They'll submit a request to the CCOE, and we will then work with you directly to get the request approved. It's required that the resume be submitted, an SF-50 if it's for an HPR, and a pay stub if you're basing their appointment above the minimum on the current or existing pay. Okay. Special salary rates, which are SSRs, and locality pay systems, which are LPSs. SSRs and LPSs are utilized when VHA is having difficulties recruiting or retaining qualified employees. They're both very similar, but used for different occupations and have different approval processes and different things you can do with both. So special salary rates are used for Title V and hybrid Title 38 occupations. Use of SSRs is to provide basic pay competitive with what the local labor market area is paying personnel in the same occupation. On the same note, VA cannot be the pay leader. As such, divisors are in place to ensure that survey data is computed to an amount less than that of the maximum salary in the local labor market area. You must be able to prove a recruitment or retention issue is being caused by higher non-federal rates of pay. The maximum supplemental percentage allowed per policy is 69%, except for occupations of pharmacists, licensed practical therapists, and LPNs. Facility directors are responsible for ensuring special rates are needed to recruit and retain well-qualified healthcare personnel. Consideration has been given to the 3R incentives and above minimum. Local funds are available for or increased costs associated with the updating of the SSR. LPSs are used for nurses, nurse anesthetists, and physician assistants. Each grade has a maximum of 26 steps and a step rate increment of 3% of the beginning rate of the grade. The maximum authorized range of basic pay rates for any grade is 133% of the minimum rate. There are some exceptions. Facility directors are authorized to adjust rates of pay for covered positions to amounts comparable to corresponding non-VA positions in the local labor market area when deemed necessary. A separate salary schedule may be established for any nurse or PA category by reviewing third-party survey data of pay rates for the corresponding specialty in the local labor market area. These specialty areas include, but are not limited to, operating room nurses, nurse practitioners, critical care nurse, administrative nurse, clinical specialty, nurse specialists, head nurses. These are called our specialty schedules. So you would have, normally you would have like an RN schedule, and then if you have, let's say, a spinal cord injury nurse, they would have their own separate specialty schedule if the facility feels that's necessary. Note that the SSRs and LPS requests have to be approved by the medical center director, or at least have concurrence before HR will start working on them. If you feel that an SSR or LPS is needed, contact your SBU and they'll submit a request to the CCOE, and we will then work with the managers and supervisors in collaboration with the SBU to complete these requests. Market pay reviews, or MPRs, and pay for performance, or P4P, are completed for physicians, dentists, and podiatrists. Market pay reviews must be completed at least once every 24 months, also known as a biennial review, and at such other times deemed necessary. Biennial reviews are completed on the 2-year anniversary for each employee. Other times a market pay review may be necessary is if the physician changes their assignment, their table, or their tier. They have a change in their schedule. They go from part-time or full-time to intermittent. They have a change in their duties, or that management deems it's necessary. Just to touch on those biennials again, they're completed on the 2-year anniversary. So you might remember that back in 2020, we had a big push to do all the biennials at one time. We're no longer doing that. They're now due once the physician reaches that 2-year anniversary mark. So if they had a biennial due this year in 2022, they won't have another one due till 2024. However, you can, if they have a change in assignment, change in schedule, change in duty, then you would do another market pay review. But the biennials are only on a 24-month basis. And you must complete VA Form 10-0432A in its entirety. It's effective the pay period after the medical center director signs. However, biennial reviews can be made retroactive. P4P, or performance of pay, is intended to recognize the degree to which an individual physician, dentist, or podiatrist achieves specific goals and performance objectives prescribed on a fiscal year basis by an appropriate management official. The amount is determined solely at the discretion of the approving official based on the achievement of the specified goals and objectives, and is paid annually as a lump sum. The amount payable may not exceed the lower of two, $15,000, or the amount that is equal to 7.5% of the annual pay in effect for the physician, dentist, or podiatrist on September 30th of the fiscal year during the period of time under review. So the amount of performance pay established should be proportionate with the complexity and scope of the goals and objectives. The amount paid to any individual may vary based on the degree of execution and individual achievement of specified goals and objectives. Initial market pay reviews will be initiated by the recruiter. Market pay reviews submitted for any other reason, like those change in assignments, change in schedules that we talked about, those would be initiated by the SBU, and then someone at the CCOE will reach out to the managers and help them fill out the forms. P4Ps will be tracked by the SBU and submitted to the CCOE for technical review. In the past, the SBU and CCOE have worked very closely in this process to ensure that performance awards are completed accurately and timely. Resumes are required to be submitted with both the market pay reviews and the P4P, along with the goals and objectives from the P4P for that fiscal year. Education Debt Reduction Program and Student Loan Repayment Program, also known as EDRP and SLRP. EDRP authorizes VA to provide student loan reduction payments to employees with qualifying loans who are in health care positions providing direct patient care services and are in positions that are considered hard to recruit or retain. It may be offered a recruitment or EDRP may be offered as a recruitment or a retention incentive. If you offer it as a retention incentive, you would similarly fill out the 10017 as you would for a normal retention incentive, but instead of allowing them a specific percentage or dollar amount, you would allow them the use of EDRP. EDRP is locally or nationally funded dependent on the position. They must be a permanent, full-time, or part-time appointment at the time of application. They must be appointed in a Title 38 or hybrid Title 38 occupation that is on the facility's hard to recruit and retain list, as approved by the medical center director. It's very important to be reviewing these HRLs with your MCD to ensure that all the positions deemed necessary are on these lists, because unfortunately, if EDRP is offered to an occupation that's not on this list, sometimes the offer needs to be rescinded. Applicants must owe any amount of principal and interest on a qualifying loan which led to a degree that qualified the individual for the position to which they're appointed. So again, the loan that the outstanding loan they have must be based on a degree they received. For if they're a nurse, it must be a nursing degree. If they're a physician, it has to be a physician degree. It must maintain an acceptable level of performance in the position to which appointed and held during the EDRP service period. EDRP may be used as a recruitment or retention incentive. However, occupations must be on the facility's hard to recruit and retain list. SLRP student loan repayment programs allows the VA to recruit or retain highly qualified candidates that the organization would have difficulty recruiting or retaining in the absence of offering a student loan repayment program. This program is nationally funded, and unfortunately it's not currently approved for any VISN 2 location, but it is an option that we do have normally. Full and part-time Title V employees and employees in hybrid Title 38 occupations. So that's the large difference between EDRP and SLRP, is SLRP can be used for Title V employees, EDRP cannot. They're eligible if on any of the following appointments: permanent employees, temporary, serving on an appointment leading to conversion, term employees with at least 3 years left on their appointment, or employees serving on an accepted appointment with conversion to term, career, or career conditional appointments. An employee receiving SLRP must enter into an agreement obligating them to at least stay with the VA for 3 years and maintain a satisfactory performance rating. An employee who breaches the agreement is required to repay VA the full amount of the loan payments that VA has paid on the employee's behalf. If you would like to add a position to the HRL, please contact your SBU and they'll follow the proper channels to seek the approval for the position to be added. Recruiters should be checking the hard to recruit and retain lists prior to announcing positions to ensure that EDRP offers are extended in the announcement if it's applicable. And that is really all I have for today. These are some of the references. These are the forms for the recruitment incentives, the memos for the appointment above the minimums, and the hybrid. There's one form for Title V, one form for hybrid. Highest previous rate memos. The CCOE utilizes 2 different LEAF portals. One is a local to VISN 2 and the other is a national site where actions that need further approval and implementation at the workforce management level and consulting are done. None of the managers or supervisors should really have to utilize our LEAF program. It's done through the SBU. For the majority of the time, if you have any questions, you can use our mail group, or I'm sure Christina would be happy to help. That's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. And just for the group, I will get copies of the presentation so that we have all of those quick references, instructions, and hyperlinks. So I will get that sent out to the group following this full presentation. So with that, only because I know that we do have a short period of time, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Work-Life Benefits now. I'll allow them to share their screen to do their presentation. And then at the end of the work-life presentation, we will go ahead and open it up for questions. And yes, Amy, this is being recorded.
Let's try this again. This is David Burr with Work-Life Benefits. Can you guys hear me this time?
Yes, we can, David.
I had it on mute and was sitting here talking to myself. All right. As I said, I'm with Work-Life Benefits. Can you guys see my screen there?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to kind of cover the work-life benefits area. Basically, I'm going to go through the areas that we have and our team members that we have. So I'm covering both work-life benefits and reasonable accommodations. So our work-life benefit members, and the supervisor for both work-life benefits and reasonable accommodations is Milagros. On our work-life benefits team, we have basically two leads, which is Denise and myself, and then Janine Malcolm helps out quite a bit with the lead level stuff. Very good, very knowledgeable. She's been around for quite a while here with New York, so she kind of has a real good feel for what's going on here within the Vision 2 area with work-life benefits. Our HRAs, we have currently 3 HRAs, which is Jose, Gina, and Gabrielle. We do have one HRA position that is open and looking for to fill that seat. Announcements should be going out shortly for that, hopefully. Specialists, we have Tia, Dorina, Michael, Gladys, Sheila, Pam, Jennifer, and Roxanne. Within the specialist world, we have 3 vacants right now that we're trying to get filled as well. And then we also have a reasonable accommodations position that we're trying to get filled as well. So a quick review of the work-life benefits part of it. The work-life benefits, we do technical reviews for quite a few areas. We're working with the family medical leave, all the leave programs really. So your family medical leave, paid parental leave, disabled veterans leave, the advanced sick leave and advanced annual leave, leave without pay requests, volunteer leave, telework agreements, military leave, and then we also do reviews of child care subsidy program. So once an employee gets their package completed, they put it into the HR portal, and I'll bring that up here in a minute, but they put it into HR portal, gets assigned to one of those specialists. They will go in and do the technical review of those packets. Generally, the review of those leave programs could take anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes for us to do the review. And that is if we have all the documentation that is needed for that. And of course, if we're short documentation and we have to go back and request additional documentation, that's going to take longer for us to be able to complete that technical review. Okay. Let's go to some of the other areas that we support within the work-life benefits team. We do cover all the benefits for onboarding employees. Critical for us to get those new employees into the NEO presentation. So when those new employees are coming on board, do everything you can to get them into that presentation so they can see that work-life benefits presentation on the benefits. We've got employees that are missing those presentations and then they're totally lost. And weeks later, they're reaching out to us saying, hey, how do I sign up? Well, they have 60 days to sign up for those benefits from when they come on. So we really need to get them into that presentation and make sure those new employees are getting that presentation. So we cover all the health benefits, life insurance forms, the TSP information. We go through the beneficiary forms in there. So we cover quite a bit of area in that presentation that's really good for them. But we will review all these forms when they come into the work-life benefits office, make sure that they're completed properly to get them forwarded on to the areas that they need to be processed at. Other areas that we do look at is public service loan forgiveness program. So if you have employees that are looking at putting in for the public service loan forgiveness, they have to fill out the first part of that form, and then they send it up to work-life benefits for us to review it and sign off, and we'll send it back to the employee to finish their process. And then there's the employee verification transit program. Any employees that are looking at using the transfer program, they get to form filled out, they submit it to us. We do a review of it as all we're doing, and then we submit it back for them to turn it into the transit program manager. And then we'll also do name changes. So if they have a request or they have a name change, they could put that request into us as well to assist with that. So reasonable accommodations unit. The reasonable accommodations unit has 4 personnel there right now: Christine, Chauncey, Raymond, and Adam. Like I said before, we do have a vacant position there, so we're looking at trying to get that filled. Reasonable accommodation unit. They process requests for reasonable accommodation. They provide consultation for managers and supervisors on possible reasonable accommodations, and then they maintain communications with the OGC to ensure limited liabilities. Now, this is an area that I don't know a whole lot about. Really haven't worked with reasonable accommodations, but definitely if you had any questions or anything, you come back to those 4 that are in that team, and they'll take good care of you. To submit any request forward to us, any benefit changes, forms, any of the leave program forms, we really request that the employees use our portal, the HR portal, to get those submitted up to us, because we're able to track those through the portal. We have a lot better system of being able to track those than we do through the portal than we do through email. So if they would go into the portal, put their request in, when they get in there, they're going to look through the tabs to find the best tab that's going to work for them. You know, on the leave programs, we request that they use the special leave program questions. You can see that on the bottom left of the screen there. Special leave program questions, that's where they put up any of the FMLA, paid parental leave, any of those type of leave programs would go into that tab. One of the things for new employees, if they have multiple documents to submit to us, they're submitting the health insurance, life insurance, beneficiary forms, they don't have to put them into each different tab. They can go to general benefits changes, upload all of them into that general benefits changes, and do it all in one ticket. That kind of helps us as well, because if they do each ticket individually, now we have maybe 4 to 6 tickets for that employee sitting out there, and we got to go into each one to work each one. Whereas if they put it all into one, it's a lot easier for us to pull it up and pull all those documents for one ticket and work that. So we would encourage you guys just to kind of let them know that. We do brief that when we do our NEO presentation, that they can use just the general benefits tab for all the tickets there. Otherwise, there's breakouts. You can look for it. You can find tickets for each area. You could do a life insurance separately. You could do a health insurance. They're all there. If someone has to do a change throughout the year, by all means, they can make use of those different tabs to submit those specific requests. The portal, we've sent out the link a couple of times for that portal, and we can always send it out again. It's the Your HR Service portal. Is the actual portal that we use. So that's pretty much all I had to go over. I was just going over a basic quick review of what we do. Unless people have questions, that's all I had.
David,
Christina?
there is one in the chat. It asks, we do have some employees that aren't so tech savvy. So is there a way, if needed, that they can schedule a face-to-face, or at least a face-to-face using Teams with your staff if needed?
Yeah, we can always do a face-to-face over Teams. That's not a problem. We can do that. And you're right. I know that there's people out there that aren't tech savvy. But yeah, just send a message up to, we do have the work-life benefits email group that we have out there. I know that there's a conflict with that right now, because what they did is they closed off one and opened up a new one. If you're getting a response saying that this no longer exists, reach out to us. Yeah, you can even reach out to me and I'll get you the correct email. But there is a work-life benefits email that they can send that email to, and we can get someone set up to do a face-to-face over the Teams chat. So, and on the next question there, if there's a regarding benefits, is there a point of contact they can reach out to? Again, it would just be to the Teams itself. Our HRAs are not necessarily broke down by location at this point. We don't have enough to break it out by location for the entire vision. So they're covering a lot of different areas, and those HRAs are very, very busy. they're pushing a lot of health insurance forms and insurance forms out the door on a daily basis. So we can't give out a point of contact by location. What we can do is, one, if they've already submitted a ticket, if we can get that ticket number, then we can go find that person that's assigned the ticket and ask them to reach out and do a face-to-face over the Teams with them. They could always reach out to the leads and we could do a face-to-face if we had to with them. There's different ways to do it. We just, again, through that email group, we'd be able to get that assignment and figure that out. Yep, I could drop that email in here. Give me a minute here and I'll pull that up. Oh, it didn't work. Hang on, let me try it again. There it is. All right, so that should be the new email. And I don't understand it. They went from an email group to an email box. I don't understand the different terms. And I look at it, and to me, it's pretty close to the original email group that we had. But that is the one that I've been getting a few emails on here lately that is working. So, okay.
And Jodia, I did see your one question as far as name changes. You said, does this apply to staff employees only, or would contractor employees use this pathway as well? I just want to clarify, when you are referring to contractors, are you referring to true contract folks that go through the contracting office, or are you referring to fee-based applicants?
I'm referring to both true contract employees, and then my other question was going to be for fee basis as well.
Okay, because for the fee basis, yes, they would go through the same process because they are considered an employee or an appointee of the VA to an extent. For the contract folks, we do not in HR do any processing on contractors. So that would have to be through their contracting office or organization, with possible coordination with the VHA contracting office.
No, I'm not talking about the VHA contractors. So just to clarify, we do have contractor employees that work for the VA, but for example, for our primary care. So times happens when they have a name change. So you would not be involved. We would just have to submit like the OIT ticket and other things like that to get the name changed. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
what you're indicating? Okay, thank
Yes,
you
ma'am.
for clarifying.
If there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Appreciate you guys' time, and thank you for letting us be on here.
I did see all of the questions for the work-life benefits. Folks, does anybody have any questions for Shannon in the CCOE?
Yeah, this is Carolyn Scott. I did have a question regarding the work-life benefits, and maybe my question in the chat didn't really get at it. So we have a lot of candidates who have questions regarding benefits, and then also people who come in and are new, to the VA and have difficulty navigating the benefits through the portal. So my question is twofold. If a candidate has specific questions, who can field those? Because it's not like they have an email and can send an email out. Would there be someone that they could speak to, or should the recruiter be able to answer those questions? And then my other point was, when we've had some issues where employees have had a really hard time getting their health insurance and everything kind of up and running. So it was, and this is one of the things that we are discussing in our Stay in the VA campaign, because it has been verbalized both to the managers and to myself that people are really struggling with that. So, and then I also had heard that somebody had put a request in through the portal, and it got canceled without resolution. And so here they were heading towards the 60-day mark of having to select their insurance for their family. And they were getting a little panicked because they weren't really getting resolution of their issue. So we used to have people on site to be able to help people kind of navigate that. And, if that's not occurring anymore, how can we be more responsive and personalized to new people coming in so they don't have to worry about that frustration?
Let me start with the candidates piece here real quick. On the candidates piece, I have fielded questions and I have received emails and stuff from managers and different people saying, hey, could you reach out to so-and-so and visit with them about benefits? They're a possible candidate that's interested in coming on. If the managers or whoever's working that has that information and sends that through that work-life benefits email group that I just provided, one of the specialists or leads would reach out to those individuals. If you give us a phone number and stuff to call them, we can do that. We have done that in the past. Some of these questions I would hope would be able to be answered by the specialist that's doing the hiring process. Most of them specialists should have some knowledge of the benefits, but again, we as the benefits team can do that if you provide us the contact information. It's a little hard to provide a phone number to some of us because of the way things are set up right now, and they're working through that whole piece to try to get us a different phone system set up so that we have a way to have that contact. But right now it's a little bit of a challenge for us. On the other side of this, understand that when we're working with those tickets programs out there, we have a timeline in which we have to try to close those tickets out. Otherwise, they start counting against the agency as a whole, and people get a little excited if a ticket's open too long. Just because we close a ticket doesn't mean we are done working the ticket. What we're doing is we take and we assign that ticket to the specialist. The specialist will pull down the information. In some cases, they'll close the ticket out because they got all the information they need, and they'll work that ticket and process it. And then they're supposed to be sending a notice out to the employee once they have everything completed. In other cases, if they don't have everything they need, they will leave that ticket open to work it. And so there's a couple different things going on there for us to make sure that we get everything completed on that. Just because something got closed doesn't mean that we're saying, hey, we're done with the ticket. But on the other side of that, and I can reference this for myself today, I had someone contact me saying, hey, how come you closed this ticket? Because I sent the letter out, the email out, did both an email plus the reply on the ticket, letting them know what I needed to complete that ticket, that I can't do anything else with it. The information needed to be provided by the employee for me to be able to do anything else with it. And so at that point, I'm done with that ticket. And so they're asking me, well, did you guys see the email? Did you go look at the emails? Did you look at the ticket reply? Found out that they hadn't looked at the ticket reply. They hadn't even looked at their email. So they didn't know that anything was sent out. And so on that side of it, please keep that in mind too, and be watching for any kind of replies. Have that employee watch for those replies from those tickets, because we may be sending something out to them saying, we need this in order to finalize this or to do this. And then at that point, we'll close a ticket because we're asking the employee to open up a new ticket when they resubmit that document or those additional documents that are needed. Does that help with the question at all? I understand your concerns, and I am totally with you on trying to figure out a way to help these people get through this better, because we all need to be better at it, and I understand. We really need to get some people hired here to help cover our HRAs that are really, they're overworked, and we're doing everything we can to help them to try to push some of those tickets and get some of those benefits things taken care of, so we are taking care of our employees.
Yeah, so thank you. This is Carolyn. Thank you so much for that response. I mean, I think it does help with the question, but I think, what we're going to do in our Stay in the VA campaign is try to flush this out so we're not getting sharing with you anecdotal information, and we can share with you some real data about what the actual issues and concerns are as people are coming on, being onboarded, and whether we're meeting their needs, because I really do think that it goes a long way in their job satisfaction if they're frustrated and overwhelmed with what they're seeing as a big bureaucracy. And I agree with the comment, you know, not really customer friendly. So we're trying to mold their needs into kind of our process. And if it doesn't work, we close the ticket out. And so, yeah, I know that people get upset with data. I've worked with data for, you know, most of my 27-year nursing career, but the data does inform for our need to change. And if our data is not looking good, then it basically means, well, let's look at why it's not looking good, and what are the issues that we need to do to change in order to, you know, provide better service. So.
I agree with you, Carolyn. There's a lot there that we can do for customer service, and we really need to be working on it harder and trying to figure out better ways to do some of this. And we have a ways to go within this whole transformation that we've done within the HR world.
Any other questions? Kathy, I did see your one comment. This is a lot of staff are not in Outlook or work in this area. I'm not sure if there is a specific question attached to that as well, that you need some further clarification on, or if there are any other questions anybody else has. I want to make sure we don't miss anybody.
No, I think Carolyn reached out and we have the response. Thank you.
Melinda, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. When someone submits a ticket for a request for some HR assistance, the previous speaker mentioned that there's timeframes, but I don't know that any timeframe expectation comes back to the submitter of the ticket. So can you tell me what the timeframes are in which someone should expect a response back from HR?
Generally, we would like a response back to the employee to let them know who's been assigned to the ticket within 5 days of that ticket being created. And that could just be a response back saying, hey, I am the specialist that's been assigned to the ticket, and we'll be working your ticket, something like that. And then outside of that, then it goes to based on the number of tickets that are in the employee's queue, how many tickets they're working, how much work they have to get done, and a lot of different things go into picture there as far as when they will be actually working that ticket.
And then you mentioned that there's some, oversight. People are looking at the number of tickets that are open and how long the tickets stay open. What's the time frame that are in your reporting parameters where, the ticket can be open for X long and then it starts to show up on reports? What's that length of time before it shows up on reports?
I believe it's 15 days. The ticket's open for 15 days. It starts showing up on reports. We've got tickets out there that are out there longer than that right now. I know that. And again, our HRAs are doing everything they can to keep up with those tickets and try to get those closed out. But we have a 15-day window in which we're supposed to be trying to do something with that ticket. And that's where sometimes the employee will look at it, the specialist or HRA, and say, well, I've got everything I need. I'll be working the ticket. And when they do that, they should be sending a reply in that ticket to the employee saying, hey, I've got everything. I'll be working your ticket. And then they could go ahead and close it out because they don't need the ticket anymore because they've got the documents they need.
So this is Carolyn again. One of the things that just occurred to me, we're doing these intake days where candidates are coming in and we're doing like one-stop shopping and getting everything done that we need to do at once. I wonder if we could take like the same approach that when we get new employees in, because we do new employee orientation every other week, if we can't have somebody boots on the ground, maybe just like a Teams meeting and then have the forms all there and everything they need so that somebody can kind of help the employee go through the process. I know the SBU doesn't really have a lot of staff right now, but somebody to be able to help coordinate it so that it's not all like this virtual, very overwhelming process. And the first 2 days that employees are here, those are the times where, you know, they're not like on their unit or prescribed, and they have the time to be able to do all of that paperwork stuff. It almost seems like, oh, you know, get started and then put your ticket in, and then someone will let you know in 5 days who it's assigned to. By that time, people are kind of up and running and trying to learn their jobs. So it was just a, you know, suggestion that maybe we take a step away from how we're doing things to see if there's another way that we can do it that could work better for everybody. So, I mean, if you're backlogged on tickets, it almost seems like focusing on the new employee orientation to get all of these things done at the get-go, you're going to get more response from people rather than waiting for them to respond to an email.
And Carolyn, I'm just going to jump in really quickly because on that particular issue, we have as a whole HR Vision been working in coordination with each of the DLOs, the designated learning officers, and the education office to revamp the NEO schedule to allow for a presentation, specifically like a 2-hour block presentation that would go through the benefits stuff with all of those questions and answer time slotted. The problem is we have a very limited staff for benefits, and if they have to do 9 briefings in one day and they only have 4 people, trying to manage those briefings are difficult. So we are in the works of revamping that process. We are looking at trying to get that Q&A session set up with being able to go through the forms and ask those specific questions. We're just working out scheduling for the 9 different facilities that would all need the briefing on the same day.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Michael, there is a question regarding FMLA from Amy Wettig as far as the approval process. I don't know if you want to address that now. I know we are running short on time, or if we need to take any of this offline, because if there are additional questions I'm missing, please know that I apologize in advance. I'm trying to scroll through the chats to make sure I get everybody, but if I do miss anybody, we will respond. We will make sure we get you a response.
Yeah. Hey, my name is Mike, and I mainly service with Albany, and so with FMLA, there's been some recent changes. We've kind of standardized the process for FMLA. Before it used to kind of go up, and for the associate director or chief of nursing and stuff like that. But now basically we kind of have a standardized email, which we provide a technical review of the FMLA documents and leave requests that is submitted through the HR help desk, which the supervisor should be submitting. And then once we provide that technical review, we send that to the employee, supervisor, and payroll so that they have that information as to the FMLA that the employee is requesting for.
Okay, so I guess my concern is that we have local policies that are conflicting with what HR policies are, and we're not being updated as to the changes. I had another question. If the employee is not filing or invoking FMLA, but is requesting sick leave and annual leave that is beyond, based on our policy, our current policy, what a manager can approve, because based on our policy, there's only certain leave types that managers can approve and certain amounts. How does that who does that manager then send the paperwork to in HR? So the appropriate approving paperwork can then get routed through the front office and for the director's approval and signature, because currently there's no forms being generated for the director to actually approve the leave, as there would have been like when you used to send us the FMLA. And maybe Christina, we can talk a little bit more offline about that. But I do want to say that there's seems to be conflicting policies from what we have here locally as to what's being used in HR, and we need to get that information out to the managers.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. We can definitely talk some more about that. I think we have time for one more. It looks like there's one from Liza. We have an intermittent employee who needs to give up his health insurance since he got alternate health insurance. He said he was unable to use the portal from his home in MA, so he had to drive over an hour just to use the VA computer. Michael or David, do you have any?
Yeah, and that's correct on that. You can't access the portal through any kind of a personal computer. It's got to be done through a VA computer. But just what I've told employees, and it's the same way with the FMLA paperwork, if you're not eligible to get to a VA computer, and you got a home computer that you can scan that document in and email it to us, you can do that. Or you can, if you got a way to fax it, you can fax it over to us. There are other options of getting it to us. You can send it to us, like I said, on that email with the work-life benefits email that I just provided everybody. They can do that. Our request is that if the employee has access to VA computer, that they use the portal as much as possible. Because we're getting documents in on the portal, we're getting documents in on email, we're getting it both ways, and we're getting multiple or duplicate cases to work. And then it gets confusing because we've already got one in the portal and we got one from email. And so we just request that they try to do it the best they can through the portal. If they don't have access to that computer, then yes, they can send it through a fax or they can send it through a regular email to us. So I apologize that happened to him. I wish, someone would have reached out. We could have provided that additional information on how to get that document to us. And we are trying to understand that people don't always have access to a VA computer. So.
Okay, with that, I know we have exactly 2 minutes left. I again want to thank everybody for joining in on the call. I hope that you found this information beneficial. If there is further topics that you would like to get some more in-depth training on, please let me know and I can try to get those scheduled into the next month's Power Hour. I can tell you that next month we are looking at, again, the third Thursday of the month. And right now we have a managers and supervisors presentation on the Office of Whistleblower and Accountability Protection. So that will be the main focus of that meeting, but we still have another half that we can tailor to the training item requests or Q&As that you guys have to help get information out there. If there are any other questions that come up as a result of today's briefing, please just let me know and I will make sure to coordinate through the appropriate individuals to get those answers back to you. And then we will send out the link for the recording if anybody needs to come back and reference it later on. So again, thank you very much for your time. And I will go back through the chat to make sure we didn't miss anybody. But if I did, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know and we'll get you those answers to your questions. So thank you.